Have you ever noticed that the prices of things you buy keep going up over time? This is called inflation. Inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services or the amount of money in circulation, which reduces the purchasing power of money. This means that you can buy less with the same amount of money as before. For example, let's say that a cup of coffee costs $1 today. If the inflation rate is 5% per year, then next year the same cup of coffee will cost $1.05. In 10 years, it will cost $1.63. In 20 years, it will cost $2.65. You can see how inflation makes things more expensive over time. So today we are going to talk about what is inflation and how does it affect you. Inflation is important to understand and measure for consumers, businesses, and policymakers. Consumers need to know how inflation affects their income, savings, and spending. Businesses need to know how inflation affects their costs, profits, and competitiveness. Policymakers need to know how inflation affects the overall economy, growth, and stability. Causes of inflation. There are different theories of what causes inflation, but they can be grouped into three main categories: demand pull, cost push, and money supply. Demand pull inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds the supply, creating a shortage and pushing up the prices. This can happen when the economy is growing fast, when consumers have more income or confidence, or when there is a sudden increase in demand for a specific product or service. For example, if there is a high demand for cars, but not enough cars are produced, then the price of cars will go up. Cost push inflation occurs when the cost of production increases, forcing the producers to raise the prices to cover their expenses. This can happen when the prices of raw materials, labor, or energy go up, or when there is a disruption in the supply chain. For example, if the price of oil goes up, then the cost of transportation, heating, and electricity will also go up, affecting many industries and sectors. Money supply inflation occurs when the amount of money in circulation increases faster than the production of goods and services, creating an excess of money and reducing its value. This can happen when the central bank prints more money, when the government spends more than it collects in taxes, or when there is a rapid inflow of foreign currency. For example, if the central bank prints more money to stimulate the economy, but the economy does not grow accordingly, then the value of money will decrease and the prices will increase. The causes of inflation are not mutually exclusive, and they can interact and influence each other. For example, an increase in money supply can lead to an increase in demand, which can lead to an increase in cost, which can lead to an increase in prices, creating a cycle of inflation. Some factors that can influence the rate of inflation are expectations. If people expect that the prices will go up in the future, they may buy more now, increasing the demand and the prices. Conversely, if people expect that the prices will go down in the future, they may postpone their purchases, decreasing the demand and the prices. Exchange rates. If the value of the domestic currency falls relative to the foreign currency, then the imports become more expensive and the exports become cheaper, increasing the inflation. Conversely, if the value of the domestic currency rises relative to the foreign currency, then the imports become cheaper and the exports become more expensive, decreasing the inflation. Government policies. The government can use fiscal policy and monetary policy to influence the inflation. Fiscal policy refers to the government's spending and taxation decisions, which affect the aggregate demand and the money supply. Monetary policy refers to the central bank's actions to control the interest rates and the money supply, which affect the borrowing, lending, and saving behavior of the public. Effects of inflation. Inflation can have positive and negative effects on different aspects of the economy and society, depending on the rate and the duration of inflation. Some positive effects of inflation are: inflation can encourage economic growth as it stimulates the demand, the production, and the investment. When the prices are rising, consumers tend to buy more before the prices go up further, and businesses tend to produce more to meet the demand and make more profits. This can increase the income, the employment, and the output of the economy. Inflation can reduce the real value of debt, as it makes the future payments cheaper in terms of the present value. When the prices are rising, the borrowers benefit, as they can repay their loans with less purchasing power than they borrowed. This can ease the burden of debt and increase the credit availability. Inflation can facilitate the adjustment of relative prices, as it allows the prices to change more smoothly and flexibly. When the prices are rising, it is easier for the producers to raise the prices of some goods and services without losing customers, and for the workers to negotiate higher wages without losing jobs. This can improve the allocation of resources and the efficiency of the market. Some negative effects of inflation are: inflation can erode the purchasing power of money, as it reduces the amount of goods and services that can be bought with the same amount of money. When the prices are rising, the consumers suffer, as they can buy less with their income and savings. This can lower the standard of living and the welfare of the people. Inflation can distort the economic signals, as it creates uncertainty and confusion about the real value of the goods and services. When the prices are rising, it is harder for the consumers and the businesses to make rational decisions, as they do not know the true cost and benefit of their actions. This can lead to misallocation of resources and inefficiency of the market. Inflation can create social and political problems, as it affects different groups of people differently and creates inequality and conflict. When the prices are rising, the savers, the lenders, and the fixed income earners lose, as their income and wealth decline in real terms. This can increase the poverty, the injustice, and the discontent of the society. Some indicators that can measure the impact of inflation are the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which measures the changes in the prices of a basket of goods and services that are typically purchased by the average consumer. The CPI is the most commonly used indicator of inflation, as it reflects the cost of living and the purchasing power of the people. The Producer Price Index, PPI, which measures the changes in the prices of a basket of goods and services that are sold by the producers at the wholesale level. The PPI is an indicator of the cost of production and the profitability of the businesses. The GDP deflator, which measures the changes in the prices of all the goods and services that are produced in the economy. The GDP deflator is an indicator of the overall inflation and the economic performance of the country. In conclusion, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services or the amount of money in circulation, which reduces the purchasing power of money. Inflation can be caused by demand pull, cost push, or money supply factors, and it can be influenced by expectations, exchange rates, and government policies. Inflation can have positive and negative effects on the economy and society, depending on the rate and the duration of inflation. Some indicators that can measure the impact of inflation are the CPI, the PPI, and the GDP deflator. To cope with inflation or prevent it from getting out of control, it is important to maintain a stable and moderate level of inflation for the health and growth of the economy. Some recommendations or suggestions are: for consumers, it is advisable to plan ahead, budget wisely, save regularly, invest smartly, and diversify their income and assets. This can help them protect their purchasing power and increase their wealth. For businesses, it is advisable to monitor the market trends, adjust their prices and costs, improve their productivity and quality, and innovate their products and services. This can help them remain competitive and profitable. For policymakers, it is advisable to adopt a sound and consistent fiscal and monetary policy, coordinate with other countries, and communicate clearly and transparently. This can help them manage the inflation expectations, stabilize the exchange rates, and support the economic growth. That's it for today's video. I hope you learned something useful and interesting about inflation. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them below. I'd love to hear from you.